just kind of worked that time. I'm surprised. It's been weird lately.
I didn't see the countdown.
Oh,
because I was looking at my second screen, but like,
oh no,
yeah,
yeah.
I definitely didn't see the countdown.
No, it was super smooth this time. It was weird.
I brought up a Wendigo in our pre-discussion, and I was looking. I'm pretty sure that I read that there was a First Nations X-Men whose name was just Native, but I couldn't find it within the Wikipedia page.
I know the big ones I know of are Thunderbird and his brother, who was Thunderbird 2, but they've since called him Warpath. Actually, Thunderbird's back to life, actually.
And I definitely saw that.
They just brought Thunderbird back.
It's weird, though, because, like, I get it that they're trying to be inclusive, but, like, maybe not have somebody named Scalp Hunter as a...
Yeah. That was a different writer, though.
as a villain within your...
But,
Because
yeah.
it gets a really weirdly real at that point, and it's kind of going against what you're trying to portray. But I don't know how recent he was or anything, but...
I think it's post Thunderbird, anyway. But yeah, they just... I think they're actually pretty comparable. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on Scalp Hunter, the character. But yeah, they just brought back Thunderbird, actually. Because they did a whole thing in the recent X-Men stuff. They haven't done anything with him yet. But he's only been, like, just come back. So I don't know if they haven't put him on a team yet.
Because I know the Wendigo legend was written into, I do believe, a Wolverine comic.
It was a Hulk comic that Wolverine first appeared in.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that was Wolverine's first appearance was he fought the Hulk. And that was going to be like a big thing where they were making the first Canadian superhero in Marvel Comics because they wanted to like get a better foothold in Canada. And then Wolverine just became one of the most popular superheroes ever made. So there was actually a third Thunderbird who was an Indian guy, which was weird.
Wait, like
from the
I've had this conversation before. Like,
from the Indian subcontinent, I mean, not like the politically incorrect. Yeah. No, they decided that was a thing for whatever reason, and it was just a really weird thing they did in the early 2000s or late 90s. I can't remember. It might have been late 90s. Yeah, it was weird. I don't know why they decided to do it because like Thunderbird's a First Nations legend and not a Indian one, so it didn't make much sense. I don't know what to do. I just have no idea what the thinking was there. I don't know if they've done anything with him recently.
Yeah, and I don't know how good this is going to be considering it came out in 1973. So,
anyway, this week we're reviewing. This is Kyle and Cody's Cult Cinema Cast. I'm Kyle. This is Cody. We're reviewing the 1993 film True Romance, which has only cursory things to do with what we were just talking about. The guy is a big comic book nerd, so that's justified. That justifies the comic related tangent.
He works at a comic book store in the movie.
Yeah, the guy played by Christian Slater.
Sure.
Yeah, starring.
Close enough. Also, they threw in a weird Spider-Man, like, offhand. He's like, yeah, you want to just look at a Spider-Man Volume 1? And I'm like, okay.
Is weird because, like, Spider-Man #1, I mean, ASM #1 is the original. I'm sorry, the original Amazing Spider-Man #1. There's been 10 of. This is a thing. I did this on Twitter. There's been 10 Amazing Spider-Man #1s, and I have experienced like 5 of them in like my somewhat short comic reading lifetime. I actually refuse to buy the last 2, and I'm going to refuse to buy the next one, which they're making in April. I'm so mad. It makes me angry. Triggering. Because they're just doing issue 1s every time they switch switch writers now, and I can't stand it. Yeah, True Romance, starring Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. Has a bunch of other actors in it. Samuel L. Jackson's in it briefly. Val Kilmer, Dennis Hopper, Brad Pitt, Gary Oldman, Christopher Walken. They all play parts in it. This is meant to be a bit of a Valentine's Day episode because it's True Romance, but this is going to come out probably on the 16th. Maybe 15th. Depends on how long we go. But yeah, this is
Sure.
actually an early one of the few films that Quentin Tarantino has written but not directed. Quentin Tarantino, the famous writer director, who's who has like his devoted cult following. This film was a bit of a financial flop, but has earned a cult following. It's directed by Tony Scott, who is Ridley Scott's younger brother. Weirdly enough, famous for Tony.
You say younger, but this guy's like he's 68.
Well, Tony Scott's passed away now,
Oh,
but yeah, I mean he's still the younger
oh.
brother. You don't get to surpass the older brother. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
that's really dark. Apparently, I was looking at the death dates instead of like his actual age.
But yeah, no, yeah, Tony Scott, famous for directing Top Gun is the other biggest film he's done. He also directed the music video for Danger Zone. So that's another thing.
Are we giving him props for Top Gun?
Yeah.
Like,
There's also Enemy of the State, Man on Fire, a few other stuff. This is considered one of his best films. This is noted for like combining a bit of Tony Scott's style with Quentin Tarantino's style. But this was an early Tarantino script that may have been one of his first feature length scripts, but he just lost interest in directing it himself. So he sold it after his success with Reservoir Dogs, and Tony Scott ended up directing it. Quentin Tarantino doesn't he likes the movie. It's just been changed from how he would have done it. The original script is somewhat more nonlinear and doesn't have the happy ending.
mm-hmm.
So those are the notable changes. But he's just like, yeah, for the way Tony Scott directs it, this is probably the best way to go. Like this is a bit more upbeat than Tarantino would normally do. But like Tarantino's style just bleeds through pretty well, I think. It's not a Tarantino film, but like directed film, but you can tell it's one of his films in a way, especially the way like the writing works. You can almost see it like, okay, I can see him framing a shot this way. It also uses a lot of Quentin Tarantino's favorite actors, like Samuel L. Jackson's in this, Christopher Walken's in this. So a lot of his famous friends are in this. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Um,
What do you think? What have you all watched for Quentin Tarantino?
uh, did he direct
Yeah, Unchained.
Django
Yep.
Unchained?
Yep.
So I've seen that, and I've seen Pulp Fiction, and like I'd have to probably look at his filmography to actually have a
Those are a lot of the
good
big
understanding
ones.
of what he all has.
I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen a bit more than that. I've also seen Pulp Fiction. I've seen Hateful Eight. I've seen Unglorious Bastards, a movie I like. It's pretty good. Some of it I don't like. It's mostly just because it's a lot of subtitles and it's hard to keep up with. For me, but I like it quite a bit actually. If I rewatched it again, I'd probably come up with a more positive opinion yet.
So he came off of like, okay, so he made Reservoir Dogs in 1992. This movie came out in 93, I do believe.
Yes.
So what he actually did was he sold the rights to his film True Romance that he had written to Tony Scott for, I do believe, $50,000 to help fund Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, that checks out. Yeah.
So if he didn't sell this, he probably wouldn't have had enough money to make Reservoir Dogs,
Yeah.
which is highly accoladed. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes and a Metacritic score of about 79, with a $2.9 million at the box office.
I should watch that. I haven't gotten around to it.
Which ironically is the 130th highest grossing film of 1992. I don't even know what was happening in 1992 that was like, you need to be $209 million. But he also notoriously did all the Kill Bills,
Yep.
correct?
Yep. Both of them, and then
And also I do believe Pan's Labyrinth,
No, that's Guillermo
which
del Toro.
I think I watched like 20 minutes. Okay, yeah. Okay, they have weirdly similar names. Quentin Tarantino
They
and
rhyme.
Del Toro.
That's all I got for you.
Sure. And he partially directed the 2005 Sin City.
Yeah,
So.
he directed a part of it. That's an anthology film, so it's yeah.
And then I guess he went on to work in some Grindhouse productions
Yeah.
too. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a considered actually one of the best films of the '90s by some people, which it's pretty good. I like it. I thought it was pretty good. We'll talk about how well it's aged a little later, but I think that's all right. Anyway, yeah, the movie opens to our main character, Clarence. What's his last name? Clarence Worley. What's that?
Worley.
Worley. Yep. He's listening to Elvis in a bar, talking about Jailhouse Rock, which is also a movie, right? I think so.
Do you believe so?
Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure. Yep, it's also a movie, and I think it's playing on screen while he's doing this. And he's talking about how much he likes Elvis. Elvis is like more of a thing than the comic book thing that we talked about. He's a big Elvis fan, and he's talking up Elvis and saying he wants to be like Elvis. Talks about his character in Jailhouse Rock, who wants to die young and leave a beautiful corpse. I don't know if that's what happened in that movie, but yeah, no. Then again, Elvis has been gone for so long, I have no idea. But yeah, he's talking. Clarence is talking.
Oh yeah, this is definitely far.
Oh yeah,
far past our generation.
Yeah, no.
It's like not something that happened anytime.
Yeah, no,
recently,
it's
so
a distant
blame
memory to us. Yeah,
1977.
Yeah,
is when he passed. So
yeah, ancient history for us. So he's talking to this lady, Alabama, is her name. It's a strange way. It's a strange name. Kind of works though. I buy it. She's an interesting character. They're talking in this bar. They're chatting a bit. Alabama is just like, he's whatever. But she's playing along with him. And then Clarence says he wants to take her to the movies tomorrow to see the famous Sonny Chiba films, Street Fighter films. And there's a triple feature going on tomorrow. So Street Fighter is films that are where the Street Fighter games get their name. So yeah, no, but Sonny Chiba is a big martial arts guy from way back when, and he's Clarence's favorite. She's just like, so you want to take me to see a kung fu movie? And he's like, no, I want to take you to see 3 kung fu movies in a row in a theater. It's like the worst. It's a bit much. Like some people would like that, but and she evidently does, because she goes to meet him the next day and like enjoys the movies. So it turns out, jokes on her, but yeah, no, it's a thing that she initially refuses to do. She goes to leave after this. He asks to go to asks her to these movies, and then we enter a thing about her giving a monologue over some B-roll footage about how she's going to fall in love with Clarence, and giving herself a little bit of a, what do I call it? Giving a bit of the exposition, and it talks about a bunch of how she's going to fall in love with him. This film is interesting. It's called True Romance. Romance is like the first maybe 20 minutes of the movie. It's not really a romance, I'd say. It's a thriller, I guess you'd call it, right?
yeah, I guess maybe.
What's the definition of a thriller?
Drama.
What's the definition of a thriller?
I don't know.
Hold on, I've never
we often throw around terms like this, but I guess like we've never actually defined it.
Yeah, sometimes you need to look things up to just like definition of a thriller
novel
movie.
player movie with an exciting plot, typically involving crime or espionage.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. Yep.
Yeah. Technically.
Yeah, that's a bit how that works. So yeah, it's a bit more of a thriller. The title's a bit of it. I don't. This isn't confirmed, but it's kind of in the style of like an old romance comic from the 40s. They would have names like this, and it's like true romance stories, and yeah, it was a thing. It was in the 40s before like romance would like take get bigger on TV and movies. It didn't end up surviving the post-war comic period as well. People have tried to revive it to mixed success, and there are obviously it's still around. Like a lot of there are romance comics. It's just they don't show up in comic book shops as much because those are dominated by the big two the way they are. It's obviously around. It's just not what people think of when they think of comic books. But yeah, anyway, that's just an interesting little factoid. But yeah, Alabama shows up to the theater the next day to go meet up with him. He didn't say where the theater was, notably, but she shows up at the movie theater, buys some popcorn, and spills it on him. She's very disruptive in this movie theater. She smokes. She asks about because she shows up late. She asks about the plot of the movie and what happened. So she's like the worst movie guest. Thankfully, there's only like 3 people in here, which yeah, it's an interesting little thing.
There's also like the consideration that I don't know how much of this we actually saw on screen. This would have been dubbed or subbed.
No, this would have been dubbed. They show it. They show it. They show a bit of the lines from it. But yeah, they dubbed those movies. It just wasn't dubbed super well. Yeah. Like no, it's charming in a way.
1970 dubs.
Yeah, it's charming in a way, but it's not. It's dubbed. But yeah, have we done our?
I don't think they've even like.
We still haven't done a good martial arts film on this show.
No.
I asked Curtis to do one, and he chose 3. What was it? The White Ninja. That was a bad movie.
Yeah. Okay. No. Let's.
Curtis. I trusted Curtis with the decision, and he failed me quite spectacularly. What was that? I forget what that movie was. I don't care. Go watch that episode. It's sometime in season 2. I don't think it's on YouTube yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she smokes in the movie theater. Imagine like the 90s. What a hellish time.
This was more commonplace than we think, though.
Yeah.
And like everybody could just smoke anywhere, like fucking
animals.
You're sitting there like restaurants, the cooks would just like fucking smoke while they're making your food.
What a barbaric age we used to live in. So after the movies, which Alabama quite enjoys, she says she wants to go out for pie, which they do. She tells Clarence asks her a bit about who she is. It's an interesting bit of dialogue. It's like how how Quentin Tarantino does dialogue. It's like really sharply written, kind of like old timey almost. It's very he wants to make this feel like a bit of an older film, like an older B movie, but with a little bit more prompt. And I mean, he did do. I'd say he did B movies for a long time. I wouldn't say he made A-list movies for a while. And Tarantino experts would have a better idea about this. She says her favorite actor is Burt Reynolds, which fair. After this, he takes her to his place of work, the comic shop, where she shows her around, shows her some comics. You're never quite sure if she's like enjoying some of this, but I think she does kind of like you eventually see her sort of falling for Clarence after a while. And after this, they have sex in Clarence's apartment. So it did go quite well. And then they wake up. They wake up a little. Clarence wakes up a little bit later to find Alabama's outside on the roof, crying and smoking a cigarette. And he goes out because he's just like, "Did I do something? I'm concerned." And she's just like, "No, you're perfect. I'm." And she confesses to him that she is a call girl, which is a type of prostitute. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but she talks about how Clarence's boss had hired her to go on a date with him because he doesn't get out a lot and doesn't get a lot of dates. Yeah,
What do you mean by I'm not going to get into the specifics?
of like what the nuances of what the different kind of prostitutes are.
Well, they're like notoriously a call girl is just a prostitute, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
is there? Okay.
like there's a point. The reason I brought this up is because there's a point in the movie where she's just like, I'm not a whore, I'm a prostitute, and there's a difference. And don't. I think I know what the difference is, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to like look like an idiot. Anyway,
they all just have sex with people for money.
yeah,
Like the
I think
okay, they're like there's no need for like
yeah,
serious semantics, but like
no, and like there's like nothing technically wrong with that. She's allowed to do what she wants. The criminalization of sex work does more harm than good. We'll go over all those points about like sex positivism and sex workers' rights and whatnot. Assume we want the best for them. We'll save the ethics of all that for a movie where we have to deal with that more. But yeah, she's telling them all this, and she's been doing this for 4 days, and he's her fourth person she's done this with, but she's likes him quite a bit. So they end up talking a bit, and this eventually results in them getting married right on the spot pretty well, which is it's really they have a really whirlwind romance, which honestly doesn't break apart at all, which I was kind of surprised with, which was kind of nice. I think this is actually one of the better romance plots where the love interest is a prostitute. I think this is like it actually like takes into consideration Alabama's agency as a character and like what she wants. I think it does pretty well. It's a bold move, but I think it works out well for them. She also talks about her pimp Drexel, who she is going to have to hide from because pimps are bad because they're like a criminal element and whatnot. They're usually involved with gangs of some sort. A lot of this can be mitigated with the legalization of sex work and or whatever legalization, decriminalization of sex work, whatever you want to avenue you want to go on, which will mitigate this. But we'll save that for another time. But yeah, point is, her gangster pimp boss Drexel, played by Gary Oldman, would be very unhappy with her leaving and never coming back. Obviously, there's a matter of like the pimp wanting a cut, and yeah, he's Drexel's noted to be an abusive person. Clarence eventually gets to thinking about it. The idea of Drexel's bothering him because he knows like someone's out to hurt Alabama, and he just that bothers him that like he's out there hurt and he had hurt her and he's gotten away with it. Also, Alabama doesn't have any of her things because she can't go back there. We then cuts over to a scene with Drexel, where he double crosses a couple guys to steal a bunch of their coke. Samuel L. Jackson's in this scene. They have a whole interesting conversation about whether or not it's manly to perform cunnilingus. Yeah, it's classic Tarantino stuff. Actually, yeah, this is pretty typical of these movies, actually. So yeah, this establishes him as a threat and like untrustworthy and deadly. Next, we cut back to Clarence. He's looking unhappy. We're maybe meant to think this is like him double thinking his marriage, but he goes into the bathroom and Elvis starts talking to him. A mental approximation of Elvis Presley starts talking to him in the bathroom as he thinks about it, and Elvis convinces him that he needs to go kill Drexel, which is just that was a revelation for me in this movie. I was just like, that is the best. Just yes, yes. Elvis made him kill this guy. That's awesome. I love it. He points out that it'll be an easy thing to do. He's a bit of a piece of shit, so they'll just think it was a gangland killing. So they will really think it's him, and they've never met before this, so it's just a thing. Not great odds. They track it back to him. So yeah, he manages to pry the pimp's address from Alabama, and Clarence goes to go deal with him, bringing with him a gun to potentially kill him. So he shows up at the pimp's house, talks to Drexel, and says, "Hey, I'm gonna give you this envelope. It has a certain amount of compensation for Alabama leaving your employ. I'm going to give you this money, and I'm only doing it because it'll give me peace of mind that you won't come after her. And my peace of mind isn't worth more than one dime what's in that envelope." The envelope's empty. It's kind of a quirky little badass scene, but Clarence isn't quite as badass as all that. It ends up getting beat up after a pretty interesting conversation with Gary Oldman's character. They get into a fight. Clarence gets beat up a bit. He gets thrown into Clarence. They get thrown. One of them gets thrown into a fish tank, which I always hate that in a movie. It's like every time I see a fish tank get broken in a movie, I'm like, oh no, the fish, they're dead now. Aw, always bums me out. Always hit me. Also, they're playing. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I need to look something up.
I was gonna say, they're watching The Mac, by the way, which is a blaxploitation film in the do you want to say the 70s or the 80s?
Probably.
The reason why I know this is because I was watching this movie and I'm like, what in the actual fuck? Like, I think I was actually reading something up on Wikipedia and I'm like, why is this here? There's goes my phone. Yeah, I was reading something on the Wikipedia page about this movie, and it is listed under one of the listed on the Wikipedia page in the See Also section of True Romance, which is like, why would you put it there? Like, out of any place you could have put it in, it's like a footnote in this movie that didn't need. Oh, maybe it wasn't. Huh.
What?
The movie was supposed to be in the footnotes of the True Romance Wikipedia page, but I think rather somebody moved it out, or I ended up Googling it, one of those two.
Over this fight scene, they're playing some knockoff Mortal Kombat theme music. I don't think it's the Mortal Kombat theme music, but it sounds like it, like a lot like it. Surprised this hasn't been a thing, but I'm not seeing like the Mortal Kombat theme in here, unless it's called something.
Oh, also, like the main theme music of this movie is done by Hans Zimmer.
Yep.
So I forgot about that. Yeah, he did some really good music for this. I think over. I don't want to necessarily say xylophones because they're not xylophones. They're like the wooden ones. I don't know the difference.
Ooh! I know this. I know this. Maroomba. Maybe that's it. No, wait.
I think you might be right.
There was a thing. There was a video I watched. It was a web video where they where this rock band used like xylophones in their song, and it attracted a bunch of skeletons to their concert. And they say they should have used a maroomba or whatever it is because it sounds less like a xylophone, which is famously the skeleton instrument.
Apparently, there's also another instrument called a glockenspiel, and that's the metal xylophones. Glockenspiel equals metal, xylophones equals wood. Also, the big shout out to somebody named Norman Musical Instrument who just explained the difference between a fucking xylophone and a glockenspiel that I had to Google search. So,
well, anyway, so yeah, they get into a fight over this knockoff Mortal Kombat music. It sounds so much like Mortal Kombat music. Did you get that? Did you understand? Did you think that too?
No.
Oh, okay, maybe it's just me. But yeah, it eventually results
It's just you.
in Clarence shooting Drexel and his lieutenant, and then forcing another one of the prostitutes at gunpoint to load up Alabama's stuff and give it to him. Unfortunately, he did leave his driver's license behind, which will screw him over later, because Drexel had taken it out of his wallet when Clarence was sort of down, and he forgot to reclaim it, which is stupid of him. And there's maybe a smarter way he could have done that too. So they do a lot of this thing where like the answer to what's gonna happen next is like obviously on the screen, but I think this is one of the more clunky instances of it, where it like results in a bit of an anticlimax. We'll explain this a little bit better later on. But Clarence goes home, where and tells Alabama what she did, and she starts crying, and Clarence is confused for a little bit because he was hurting her, and she was just like, "It's just so romantic of you," and then she kisses him, and she's really happy about this. And then she goes to check on her stuff because she's, it's going to be nice to go into some different clothes, and it turns out to be a suitcase full of cocaine bricks, like $500,000 worth of cocaine bricks, actually.
Also, like, okay. So I'd like to point out that they never actually got a very decent, accurate description of how much cocaine's here.
Yeah, it's just described in the monetary amount.
But like, estimated by a fucking actor, and
True.
not even like a mainstream actor.
Yeah.
In the movie, like, how does this guy know how much that cocaine? Like, if I showed you a brick of cocaine right now, do you think you could describe how much that cocaine would be?
Well, no, because I'm not an actor.
Either is he.
To be fair, I do think his actor friend is the one who figures out how much it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, she like maybe Alabama knows. I don't know. Well, it's not really important. It's a plot device. Famously, Quentin Tarantino is the one that made the suitcase that just glowed as a plot device. He was like, "It doesn't matter what's in the suitcase."
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he'd tell you. It's like, it doesn't matter, just as long as it's expensive. I could have thrown any fucking word in there, and it would have amounted to the same thing. Is probably what he'd tell you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
They just spend a whole lot of the time nitpicking the fucking monetary amount of this cocaine.
But we'll get to that a little later. Yeah, they in order to like make sure that the cops aren't going to come after Clarence, Clarence goes to check in with his dad, who's a former police officer, to see if like the cops know anything. The cops don't, because just like we figured earlier, is because it'd be a gangland shooting. They figure it's a gangland shooting of some sort, and that he had a falling out with perhaps his upper
kid. Isn't this just a plot hole?
Maybe. How do you mean?
Okay, so Clarence goes in. He kills Drexel. He shoots him in the penis, by the way.
Yeah, as well as in the head.
There's nobody. You didn't bring that fucking up. He shoots him in the dick, and as you were saying earlier, he left his driver's license at the scene of the crime, pretty much at the basis of like where this fight happened. You think any good police officer would be like, hey, there's somebody's fucking driver's license here. That's weird. Maybe we should go after this guy, huh? But no, they just leave that, and they just leave it there, and then the fucking gangsters eventually find it and are like, hey, this is the guy that clearly killed Drexel. Let's go after him.
My thinking is that the gangsters showed up first, and that's the only thing I can think of, is they showed up first.
No, because one of the things that they were responding to, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, my thought process is they're responding to the gunshots. The police were going to respond to the gunshots.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's why he needed to get out of there.
True, but I don't know that we ever
So
saw the cops
I
on
don't know.
screen, to be fair. So this is all speculation
Yeah.
on our part anyway. Moreover, I think they could have done a thing where like either the police were in on it and Clarence's dad checking up on this was what's tipped off the gangsters, because the cops they have like a guy in the police department. Um, or of course they could have just shown up there
Mhm.
first. But I think there's a couple ways you could have done this other ways. But yeah, so yeah, the father talks about how no, they don't suspect Clarence, and as long as he like gets out of town, he shouldn't experience any issues. Next, we get a phone call on the while they're en route to they're going to Los Angeles to meet with a friend of Clarence's who he grew up with named Dick Ritchie, which I'm just sort of just a couple seconds ago realizing is just uh, Dick twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't pick up on that the first time because I'm a what's the word mature adult who doesn't participate in potty humor.
Played by Michael Rappaport.
Yep. And they're going to go meet him in LA so they can sell the briefcase full of drugs. Dick is an actor, or is trying to be an actor, and yeah, that's the thing. He's trying. The thing in the movie is he's trying out to get on a role with on T.J. Hooker, which is famously the cop show that Captain Kirk was on. William Shatner was on. So they talk about that a bit. It's just a weird example. I guess that's just a film series that was going on in '92. Wait, what year was T.J. Hooker? I don't know. That show has been off the air long before I was.
I'm pretty sure TJ Hooker ran for something
5 seasons.
1982
Oh, so this movie takes
and for
place
five
in like
seasons, so
uh 80,
82
86 or
between
something.
85.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie takes place in the 80s. Unless this is just an alternate universe where TJ Hooker ran from 10 for another 10 seasons at least. Maybe that's part of the like Quentin Tarantino, like the Quentin Tarantino timeline is like famously different because they killed Hitler early in Inglorious Bastards. So maybe that's a result of that is because World War II ended sooner. T.J. Hooker got 5 more seasons. It just makes perfect sense. That's Claude's clearly a logical result of World War II ending in 1943 or whatever instead of 1945 is that T.J. Hooker becomes much more successful and gets 5 more seasons. Jesus, that is a white cast photo. That is just the cast
TJ
photo.
Hooker.
The thing on the characters in T.J. Hooker are just 3 white guys with brownish hair and then a blonde lady. So it's interesting. Heather Locklear's the
This was the
lady in it.
80s.
God damn the 80s. Yeah, what do we need to run for at least another 4 seasons, 5 seasons? Anyway, on to the next thing. In this universe where TJ Hooker ran for 9 seasons, Clarence and Alabama have sex in a phone booth as they're finishing talking to Dick over the phone. That is the thing that happens. In the meantime, Christopher Walken, who is a gangster in this, goes to interrogate Clarence's dad, and they have a whole thing. Clarence's dad doesn't tell Christopher Walken anything he doesn't already know, just that he left town. In a big speech where he says that Sicilians are like African, but like remove any of my sensitive language from that and just make it like the most N-word laden speech you've ever seen with like no black guys in the room whatsoever. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that there's enough evidence out there to suggest that Quentin Tarantino is not a racist, but he does maybe like fucking Tony Scott. Maybe. I need you to consider something. Maybe don't do this speech verbatim. Maybe tone it down a bit. It's obviously a speech that like his dad, Clarence's dad, is using to piss off the Sicilian mobster. But it's not great. It's not. You wouldn't be able to film this today for good reason. Yeah, like. Okay, back to what I was saying. There's enough evidence to suggest that from like, given that his larger filmography and his beliefs, that Quentin Tarantino is not a racist, but he does perhaps have a somewhat childish desire to say a no word.
He doesn't say a no word. He pays white people to say no words.
Yeah, he did say it.
Other white people to say no words.
He did say the N-word like 3 times in Pulp Fiction, though. At least 3 times. It might have been 4. There's the scene where
okay, but was he in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, no, he's you know the scene where Samuel L. Jackson and what's the guy's name? The disco guy. The guy from Greece. What's his name? Fuck. Vincent Vega's the character. We're terrible film critics.
I can see his face, and it's stupid.
The guy from the guy from Saturday Night Fever and Samuel L. Jackson.
I think everybody fucking knows who you're talking about. But for some reason, the name is just
the audience is screaming his name at us, but we cannot remember it, and I'm not googling it. Samuel L. Jackson and the guy from Saturday Night Fever,
John Travolta.
They've just killed that guy in the back of the car, and they go to this guy's house, and then the guy they're talking to in that house is Quentin Tarantino. Is played by Quentin Tarantino. Oh. Yeah. And he's like the thing. This isn't dead N-word storage. That's his whole thing. So he does have a childish desire to say it. I'll say that, but yeah. Problematic, we'll call the speech, but ultimately, yeah. Anyway, this is a whole speech where he provokes, where Clarence's dad provokes the Sicilian mobster, played by Christopher Walken, into killing him for suggesting that as a Sicilian, he is of mixed race. It's a... I mean, granted, he's evil, so that does piss him off. So that's not a positive character trait. This is a very, very roundabout way of pissing off this gangster. But I mean, it does the job. I see where he's going with it. It's just like it's going to be uncomfortable for some of you to watch if you ever get around to it. So yeah, content warning for about 15 uses of the N-word. We'll just put that on the list. Hard R and everything, by the way, just like hard R N-word. Anyway, after Christopher Walken blows Clarence's dad's brains out, one of the mobsters finds a note on Clarence's dad's fridge saying that he went to Los Angeles the whole time. That was just sitting there. It's actually kind of funny. And so that is a funny bit. I'll grant you that. There's a lot of build up to this joke. It works. I'm not going to say it's worth it, but it works. Christopher Walken's not in the rest of the movie, by the way, just to be clear. They only paid him for this scene, and then they're just sending a bunch of hitmen after him in the rest of the movie. It's pretty cool. Anyway. But yeah, that actually makes Clarence's dad a little ballsier, knowing that he's trying to bluff his way through this, because he definitely knows he has that on the fridge. Like, that would have been like kind of like, now you see that and you're just like, oh, he knew that was there the whole time. He was just trying to bullshit his way out of this and get him to fuck off. Maybe it would have helped. Anyway, I suppose it's an every second counts thing. So they show up in Clarence in Alabama, show up in LA to meet Dickie and his roommate Floyd, stoner. Yeah, stoner. Yeah, he's a pretty heavy stoner who just tells everyone everything when they get to the door. They show Elliot the drugs, and Elliot manages to they do a whole thing. It's a pretty entertaining scene, And then Elliot says he's going to talk to a friend of his who knows a producer, and they're going to organize a big drug deal where they're going to sell the drugs for 40% of its value in order to get it all out of the way in one deal. And they're doing this, and they're going to try selling it to this one big Hollywood producer who's making fake Vietnam movies. At least I think those are fake. I hope those. I don't think those are real movies they're referencing. Just gonna look up this guy and make sure he's not a real person. Oh, Floyd is played by Brad Pitt, by the way. That's probably an important detail.
Yeah, this guy has absolutely zero fucking chill in this movie too.
Yeah. Which guy? Brad Pitt?
Like the whole fucking Floyd character, he just like literally babbles to fucking random strangers who shows up at his house. He's like, "Oh, where's this person?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, they're definitely at this motel down the street." And then later on, he does the exact same thing.
Yeah, he totally sells out our heroes for with no pressure. He's very helpful.
No pressure, no implication. Like he wasn't even getting himself something out of the deal.
Okay, so Lee Donowitz, the producer guy, is not a real person. I just wanted to confirm that. I didn't think he was. Just gonna make doubly sure. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm 90% sure that Lee Donowitz is not a real person. Just gonna assume that's the case. So yeah, they're gonna arrange this, and they got to meet with Elliot, this actor, in order to get a meeting with the big guy to make sure all this is legit and whatnot. So they go to meet him at a carnival because that's what Alabama wants to do, and they go have this discussion on a roller coaster where Clarence spins this line to him about getting the drugs from a corrupt police officer, and that he is unloading it for this guy. And they want to unload it all in one shot in order just to get in and out of this whole deal. But yeah, so that's a thing. Elliot dearly has a bad time on the roller coaster, which is understand. I think roller coasters are probably just a bad time for people like me in particular. I don't like roller coasters. I don't like most carnival rides. Actually, I'm just not my thing.
I'm not really a heights person, but this shot was really nice.
Yeah, no, it was really well shot actually. Um, I don't know if you just strap the camera to the front of the roller coaster or what. Yeah.
Oh, that's probably definitely what they
Yeah.
did.
They don't have drones
Too, I
yet.
guess, because they did. Unless somebody just climbed the fucking like scaffolding and shot it from like
You could do
across
some of
the
that.
direction.
But
'Cause,
there's
like,
shots that are happening from the front view, and we're going to move on. So
well,
they
the shots done backwards at the
yeah.
actors
Anyway,
and front shots, I guess.
yeah. Anyway, so they get the deal set up. Elliot calls Lee and on a Sunday, which he's really pissed off about, and they talk on his brand new super high tech car phone. A phone that is attached to your car. These were really impressive in the
Yeah,
90s.
were these actual things?
Yeah, my aunt had one
I mean, yeah.
in the early
Okay.
2000s, but yeah, it was way late in the lifespan. It was early into the cell phone's life. She had one. But yeah, they were a thing.
In the 1980s, the car phone was more popular than the regular mobile phone, so this is even predates your 1990s.
Yeah, no, because it is
Okay.
easier because
Yeah.
you can just it would have been way too heavy just to carry around. And early cell phones were famously just bricks, so
And also these were wired too, adding to the whole.
well, it's a wireless phone still because the phone the it's like a it's still wireless because it's still sending a signal out. It's just that it's corded to the receiver. The antenna isn't built into the handle of the phone like a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it still has to be wireless because it is a car.
So these things came out. Um, their original equipment weighed 80 pounds.
Oof. Yeah, no, that's
in 1946, I do believe. I guess if the original equipment, yeah, 1946. So they've been around for a really long
Yeah,
time.
it probably was just like a World War II project that didn't get done in time. Anyway, so yeah, they get a meeting with Lee. They go they break off from each other. They Clarence and Meanwhile, Clarence and Alabama are at the motel. Clarence leaves to go get some supper or like a lunch for them. Floyd has, in the meantime, told a hitman looking for them that they are at the motel. Also, he's kind of easy to track down, or these guys are kind of easy to track down because Clarence drives a purple Cadillac, which even for the 80s
Oh
is
yeah.
probably a pretty identifiable vehicle. I mean, not that you'd sell your Cadillac, but
Yeah, I'm picturing this car in my head, and it is very obscene.
cool car though. The hitman is there waiting for them and interrogates Alabama to get some information from him. So they have a whole interaction where the hitman does a monologue about killing and how it gets easier as time goes on. Alabama manages to get hold of a Swiss Army knife, which she doesn't actually have a proper knife. I'm assuming it just has like a corkscrew,
Mm-hmm.
which she intends to use to threaten to kill the hitman with. So she tells the hitman where the drugs are, and they're under the bed, which is hilarious. It's like, what, you didn't search for that? Really? It's like he's
Also,
just
I'd
like,
like to point out this hitman that you keep on bringing up is like later the person who plays the head of the mafia family in The Sopranos. So I mean,
hmm,
like,
I never
gotta
watched
give
The
him a little bit
Sopranos.
more credit than what he actually deserves. I also never seen The Sopranos, but like it ran for
Oh yeah,
a
it was a big show.
long ass time on. I guess arguably it was on cable in like the 2000s, but you know.
I was too young for the show then. I think that show came off the air when I was 13 or something. So yeah, he's just like, I can't believe I didn't check under the bed for the drugs. And contrary to what you're thinking, she doesn't just leap on the guy at that point. She just like holds a the corkscrew up to him. He tries to taunt her.
Why in the
Yeah,
okay?
he tries to taunt her by like tearing open
This
her
guy,
shirt and whatnot. And, yeah,
like, I've got to like give some form of props to fucking the characters at this point in time, considering like most people in this exact same situation would probably just try and conceal the fact that they have a knife and try and stick them in the most appropriate time. This dude, fucking Alabama just straight up like shows him that she has this thing. As like straight up front with about it. It's like pretty much to the beginning of the whole entire fight sequence, which is dumb. Don't do that.
she gets into a fight sequence after she stabs him in the foot with the corkscrew. He has set his gun down out of his reach, which was a stupid thing for him to do. They're getting into a big fight. She tries knocking him out twice. Eventually, she gets away and gets a hold of the gun and unloads it into the hitman, saving him. Just as Clarence shows up, he goes to take her out of there because she's bloody and yeah, cops certainly heard this and they've driven off in his very recognizable vehicle. I'm surprised they don't get caught after this, honestly. But the cops don't really seem to pursue him. And they go out to the outskirts of town or something, or just some random, yeah, just outside of an airport to go clean up Alabama's wounds and talk about what they want to do after they sell the drugs. She says she wants to go to Cancun, which okay. That's not going to be easy. It always weird in like it's always weird in like modern movies where they manage to sneak over the border to Cancun because it's like can't Mexican U.S. border is like a big yeah they're like it's a secured border, isn't it?
It's easy to get into Mexico. It's
Is it?
Yeah, but it's easier to get into Mexico than get out of Mexico.
I mean, I suppose. I mean, I don't know.
And this
Yeah,
was the fucking 80s. Like notoriously, I feel like people just didn't give a fuck.
yeah, that's true.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, the
Like,
80s is a
I think
terrible
border
decade.
security in the 80s was a whole fucking, like, different story than what it is today, and I mean, I think if it
We've had a solid 25, 30 years of racism instilled in that border philosophy, so that maybe wasn't in there as much in the 1980s. So
mhm. Like, I could be wrong, but, like, also, like, it's always been, like, a very one-way street, I'm assuming.
yeah, maybe down there.
Like, if you wanna get into Mexico, it's probably very simple. If you wanna come back into the States, they're gonna
Yeah,
fucking
maybe.
gonna
Yeah,
do everything in their power. But, like, even at that, to me, it's weird that they just let him walk across the border with a suitcase with $200,000 in it, though.
yeah. That's the weirder
Like,
part.
that's
Yeah,
my biggest
yeah.
concern. It's like, what would happen if they went through their luggage? It'd be like, "This is, suspicious activity."
Then
Like,
again, a lot of people do get across the border with that because they're just like not as suspicious of other people, or like the guy at the border didn't think to check them. They also probably don't have the big X-rays like they do today, so that's another thing.
oh, yeah, I'd also like to point out that they're 2 white people.
True.
So, it's probably very lax to get across border security at that point in time.
And like
But, like,
a
man, if anybody fucking
young couple saying they're going on a
mhm.
honeymoon too, so that's yeah, plausible story.
I'm just saying, like, most people, like, walking across the border right now with $200,000 are gonna probably be asked a few fucking questions on how they're planning on spending that money, because mostly everything's, online now. I guess it wouldn't have been as conspicuous as before because, like, I don't know when debit cards came out or when to, like, how you got money from place to place back in the
I mean,
days before the
that's
fucking
still a lot
internet,
more than
so, like,
walking around
wire
money.
transfers, I guess, were a thing.
'Cause
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
by
so
far.
yeah, no, they're still getting some border issues. Anyway, let's move on. So, they go to the meeting, or wait, no, there's another thing. So we cut to Elliot a day or two before the meeting happens, and he gets pulled over with a prostitute and a big bag of cocaine. It's a pretty interesting scene, and essentially the LAPD convinces him that he's to rat on his boss Lee in order to get a lighter jail sentence, and is going to convince him to go wear a wire for this upcoming drug transaction that's going to go out. And this is where we're introduced to the policeman characters in the movie, namely a couple guys. So yeah, they're going to do a whole thing. Yeah, Chris Penn, Tom Sizemore, playing there. Michael Beach is in there, and they're playing different guys. So they're doing a whole thing, and they're gonna do that as a thing, and yeah, it's an interesting scene. It's like it's a very Tarantino esque thing where they just introduce some characters near the end of the movie. In the meantime, the hitmen show up to Dick's house, and Floyd tells the hitmen the next batch of hitmen the second time he's done this, where they're going at like this other hotel where they're going to meet with Lee, and exactly where they're going and what room number and everything.
Honestly, in my defense on this, in his defense on this part, these guys are holding guns. The last guy wasn't,
Yeah, true. It's
but,
like yeah, it's kind of like yeah, sure, they're going to this place. Yeah, there's no need for you to do anything. I'll just be super helpful. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not the guy you're looking for. Uh, I don't know. Not
mhm.
maybe they wouldn't. It's maybe a little bit unrealistic, but still, whatever. He's also using a honey, like a bear honey thing as a bong, like one of those bottles of honey shaped like a bear, and he's using it as a bong. That's which is interesting. So
I didn't see the bear up honey, I just saw a bottle, so
yeah, well, it's a bottle shaped like a bear. Anyway,
okay.
yeah, the honey. Yeah, going moving on. So we're setting up for the meeting. The policeman, the LAPD is talking up Elliot, telling him he's good to do this, and they get ready to lie. They go up to the hotel room, and Clarence and Lee have their whole discussion. He wants to know he knows the whole deal. And eventually, Clarence manages to convince Lee that he's on the up and up, and gets the $200,000. And he goes to the bathroom while Alabama counts it, where he gets a inspirational talk from Elvis about how his goodie's doing. I like these little Elvis hallucinations. They add so much to the movie, and I love it. Like, just like, this is, I would never would have expected like a fantasy like a mental hallucination Elvis would be telling you to kill people. So while Clarence is in the bathroom, the police have gotten the wire information they need in order to go raid the room. So they bust into the hotel room holding guns up, and they do a bunch of shouting. And then the hitmen bust into the same hotel room. Yeah, they do a bunch of, and then we have a big three-way standoff. I suppose just, yeah, three-way standoff between Lee's bodyguards, the hitmen, and the LAPD, which eventually escalates to a shootout when Elliot tries to weasel his way out of the room, and Lee splashes some whiskey on Elliot's face, which apparently inquires that the police fire a shot into Lee's chest. Fucking cops, man.
Mm-hmm.
They did a bad job here. So they get into a huge fight. They shoot a bunch of people. It's interesting because the cops are kind of treated like main characters in this moment, despite the fact they've only been in the movie for like 20 minutes tops, something like that, right? So yeah, Dick, and I keep trying to call him Dickie, even though Richie's the last name. Dick Ritchie gets out of there to go, assumingly, get to his TJ Hooker role that he got earlier in the movie, before they went over. Clarence gets shot in the gunfight as he brings a gun out, as he barges out of the bathroom, but he manages to crawl away, and Alabama crawls away after him. In the meantime, the hitmen all end up dead. All that remains at the end is just one of the one cop, I think played by Chris Penn, I'm not sure, and then one of the hitmen who is bleeding on the floor. He wasn't the one that shot Detective Cody, was he? Detective Cody was the black one.
Sorry?
I don't think. No, I don't. I think because one of the mafia guys shot Detective Cody. But regardless,
I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure it was Boris.
okay,
Was it not?
okay. Is Boris the one? Yeah, yeah, I think. Yeah.
Boris was the one with the ponytail and what
Okay.
looks
Yeah.
to be a shotgun. He was guarding Lee in the
Huh. Played by Eric Allen.
motel room while
Yeah.
the drug deal.
Played by Eric Allen Kramer, who's an alumni of the University of Alberta.
Sure.
Weirdly enough. Anyway, yeah, so Boris is lying, like, leaning against the back of a bar, bleeding, and the one detective wanders over and responds to Boris's pleas for an ambulance by saying, "I'll call you a hearse," and shooting him while saying, "This is for Cody," which is the reason we were reviewing this movie, is because I thought that was kind of funny that some heavier set white guy for me had to avenge some guy named Cody. That was the entire reason for the review.
Like, I brought this up before earlier, and you're like, I think you'll note one of the more iconic scenes in the movies. What scene was that?
Oh, this was this. I said what I said was, I think you'll know why I wanted to review this movie with you, and this was the scene why I wanted to review this movie, specifically because there's this scene where this heavier set white guy just like, "This is for Cody." Thought that was funny. I know you're not impressed, but
I'm very much so not impressed.
this scene was also referenced in the show Frisky Dingo, which is also a funny rendition of it. That is beside the point, though. But yeah, that was my reasoning, is because this scene was in. I knew this scene was in it because I saw it referenced in Frisky Dingo, and I thought it'd be funny. Yeah, this Alabama ends up shooting this guy who's just shot Boris, because she's just like, fuck you, and shoots him. And then Clarence seems to be dead, and I kind of think he's dead, but the movie doesn't believe he's dead, so they just wander off in the confusion because all the cops are dead, so they don't know who they're looking for. So they manage to get off with the money, thankfully, and leave to Mexico, where Alabama and a now eye patch bearing Clarence raise a baby named Elvis. And that's the end of the movie.
I don't know what the fuck.
Like, he seemed really dead.
Okay, so the Wikipedia page on this, they have somebody named Val Kilmer, playing somebody as mentor in this movie, and I notoriously couldn't figure out who
Oh,
the fuck the mentor is until I hovered over it, and it shows a picture of Elvis Presley.
yeah, no, they're saying the mentor is like imply that Elvis Presley is actually convincing this guy to kill himself. Which, yeah, I think they're legally in the clear, but it might be a little bit bad taste, so they have to credit him a little bit differently. But mentor on Wikipedia just links to the page about Elvis Presley.
Okay, that makes way more sense. Also, the Berta from 2.5 Men is in this movie.
Yeah, this is also famously the kind of technique, like, it's why the guy in Rango who's supposed to be Clint Eastwood isn't like credited as Clint Eastwood. They call him they just call him the man with no name, like he is in the movie where he is the man with no name. It's just a thing where, like, you wouldn't just say. Also, I don't think they're not playing themselves, so. And there might even be some issues where, like, if you're portraying a real guy, you need to, like, there may be some legal things, but I think they're in the clear, probably. Yeah, that's just the end of the movie. I was pretty convinced that Clarence is dead, and this is kind of a dream sequence, and it does seem like it, but yeah, it's interesting enough. If they wanted to go with the happier ending, they could have made him seem less dead.
Yeah, he got shot in the face, was he not?
Oh yeah, no.
Like, he definitely lost an eye.
Yeah, no, the implication is that it, like, went into his eyeball and, like, clipped like right through the edge of the eyeball, and if it had been like 2 inches over, it would have like cut through his brain, but it just went like right through the eyeball in such a way. But he did go unconscious because of that, which maybe, I guess, because of the pain.
Yeah. This movie got a weird amount of accolades, once again, between, like, its cult following. I don't think we actually really talked about the box office, because it only made $100,000 over its budget.
No, it made the exact amount of its budget. It budget was 12 million, 12.5. Box office is 12.6. So yeah, that's a box office flop, but they were able to recover. I don't know if they were able to recover it, but it has a cult following that's maybe made up the money in the long run. Yeah. This movie was also censored to hell in the UK.
Also, really fucking hard to find.
True. Yeah, no, we can only it's only like
What?
rentable. Yeah, it's only rentable on Apple TV or whatever. But yeah, no, this was censored to hell in the UK. They like cut out a lot of the scene where Alabama's dealing with the hitman and stuff like that. They also changed the ending a bit. Hold on, I can find this. Yeah, heavily censored in the UK. Much of Brad Pitt's drug use was cut out. And there was also a alternative ending where Alabama didn't shoot the detective, but was shot by one of the mafia men. That was actually the edit in the 1993 VHS release, but it's since been released as uncensored, and the uncensored American version and all other versions, obviously. But yeah, this is some pretty classic Tarantino stuff, despite not being directed by him. Like, if you're not sharp on it, you could almost not tell. I think maybe that's because Tony Scott has a way of like adapting to his writer's style. I don't know what a Quentin Tarantino script actually looks like. It could have some pretty advanced details on how the camera framing should go. So that's entirely possible too, and that might have
Yeah,
reflected
that's
itself.
true.
Yeah, like I found the scene between Christopher Walken and the dad kind of seemed like a very shot like Tarantino would. Particularly, that felt like a very Tarantino like scene to me. It's possible there was some instructions on how to frame these scenes that Tony Scott just went with for
Hmm.
justified reasons. And the action scenes kind of strike me like something like Quentin Tarantino would make. So yeah, he clearly you can almost I'm maybe suspecting a little bit of that, but I don't know obviously. Any other points?
Uh, no, not overly.
All right, what do you give the movie, Cody?
Like, maybe a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm with that too. I
I'm
think.
not completely and entirely sold on the whole love aspect of the whole movie that lasted like maybe 3 days, because we all know how that fucking Romeo and Juliet bullshit kind of went over
It almost did go
originally.
over like that, to be fair. We did see them almost die in this. I think that was what happened in
It did.
Tarantino's script, which I'm thankful in that sense that they changed it because I don't want them to just redo too many people redo Romeo and Juliet. It's a very well cloned script,
Mhm.
which I don't care for. Like I almost like people do it with like the ending change that was better, but I kind of don't. That's not actually not the issue. But anyway,
And besides that, like, it's nothing spectacular. It's just kind of a movie.
yeah, I'm kind of on a high 6 because there's good scenes in it, but I just it's pretty good. It's maybe just not. It's definitely not the best Tarantino movie. It's maybe one of the better ones, but I also haven't
Mhm.
watched every Tarantino movie. But yeah,
And I mean, arguably, people who have watched Quentin Tarantino movies, are they truly going to say it's a Quentin Tarantino movie,
yeah,
or are they going to say it's a Tony Scott movie? Also, there's Dennis Hopper played in this, and I did Google search who Dennis Hopper was, and he also notoriously played in the Super Mario Bros. Movie like a year before this, so I'm kind of not wholly interested in him as a actor anymore.
it feels there's a lot of referencing other movies in this, which I'm not going to hold against it per se. It just feels kind of nerdy in a way, like just like really referencing stuff. And that's maybe some of that's intentional to like give us an idea what the characters are like. And it works toward the film. It works better in this, but feels not great at all times. Although it does kind of work. The like in the father and we talked a lot about the scene with the father and Christopher Walken, and that can get uncomfortable for some people, and that's something you got to acknowledge. But yeah, I think it's okay, just not perfect movie. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, next week or next maybe next week it might be something like that. We're gonna be doing Wicker Man next, the 2006 Nicolas Cage one. So that's gonna be our thing that we're doing, and then in March we'll be doing some other stuff, and then we're gonna be doing we're getting our way to the finale. I am mostly done the book we're reading for that, so I just need to finish the last chapter or the last section. Anyway,
Mhm.
we're ending the podcast now. See you guys next week. Shit, I had another ending plan, but I forgot what it is. Anyway, going, leaving. Bye bye.